got a block behind him. Gonna throw on a run, complete to the 25, to the 30. Lindsey's got 35, 40. Lindsey's got 45, 50, 45, 40. Run, Lindsey, 25, 20, 50, 10, 5. Lindsey stop, Lindsey stop, Lindsey stop.
What's up, everyone? Welcome to Dogs Down South. Really excited about the show tonight. We're getting closer and closer to experiencing some football in this long, dreadful off season. It feels like it's been like years, but it's only been months. And I have to tell you that I'm now counting the days down till March 12th. Obviously, that's Monday next week. Georgia opens spring practice, and we finally get a chance to see, number one, some of these newcomers, these freshmen that are entering in that are early enrollees that had some practices for bowl season. Also get to see some of the new coaches out there on the field and just get the chance to see what's going on with Georgia. And then Pro Day on the 13th. But without any further ado, let me bring on the stars of the show. As always, got some guests with me tonight. I got Mr. Adam Fisher, otherwise known as Fish, Mr. Bobby Ryals. What's up, boys? How are we tonight?
What's up, big guy? I like being called the stars of the show.
You are the stars of the show. You are, man. You're the best part of the day.
We're working on our NIL deals right now, right?
There you go, man.
I've already been contacted by several people.
Your checks are in the mail, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
They say did you guys watch that show, Whose Line Is It Anyway? Where they would just give out like 1 million points because it doesn't matter. Points don't matter. That's guys. Your Monopoly money is in the mail.
That's a good
one. I sent you so much that I didn't even need your address. All right, guys. Dude, we're going to hop. Well, first off, let me get your takes, man. How excited, Bobby, first, how excited are you, man, that we're going to get to see some guys in pads on next Monday? How excited are you?
Yeah, man. So the whole recruiting thing, right, is like expectations. It's all based off of what we think they will do when they show up on campus. But now we really get to see that come to life, right? And see who stands out and who makes a name for themselves that maybe we weren't expecting. Spring is always fun, man. Just kind of see what's going on, and just see them in the Georgia colors, and get to know them a little bit as far as how they play and what they bring to the table, and seeing it all put into action. So spring football's awesome. And then of course after that we see the ones that leave, right? So we know what we're looking at heading into the season.
Right. Yeah. You get G-Day, you get the spring practice, and then you get the portal. Like, what is that, man? You might as well just call it something grim. I know, Fish, we got your take last week, but man, have you been counting the days down, bro? Like Monday, like I think I thought about just taking a day off work. I couldn't get the strings pulled, but G-Day, spring practice on Monday, Pro Day on Tuesday. You excited, bro, or what?
Oh yeah, man. Can't wait to see what we're working with, because we're going to get updates daily on who does what, who's standing out, who's looking good, who's not looking good, and so we might even get a little sense of who we might be losing or who might be shopping around in the portal season. Hopefully we don't have another mass exodus. We did lose quite a few players, but we reloaded, and we can, and the ones that leave are going to be the ones that aren't satisfied with the amount of playing time they're going to get. So the guys that are going to be there are going to be good.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a combination of, like, I think we talked about it a couple of episodes back, where it's like we're at a spot where either, we're young and we just want that playing time, or shots at, like, if you do well and you're not, you get a little love in some games and you don't get to start, maybe you get an NIL deal at another school next year, maybe. It's so wild, man. There's been a lot of there's been a downtime and a lot of talk during the downtime about, of course, how to make NIL better and improvements to the portal and things of that nature. And I'm always seeing big things coming our way, but nothing. We won't know anything until SEC Media Days. And so but not to rush anything. But pro day also, we're going to just briefly hit on this, but pro day on Tuesday, which is the 13th of March. But man, how about some of these guys, some of these dogs showing at last week at the combine, man. I mean, Ladd McConkey, the man ran a 4.39, and you look at Ladd McConkey and you go, you see great hands, you see a great route runner, you see a smart, intuitive player, and then the kid runs. It's like the movie White Man Can't Jump. Like when he dunks the ball, and you're like, bro, no way. Because the only dunking I did when I was a kid, man, was when the goal was let down to like 6 feet. Everybody's like, put the goal down to 6 feet, whatever, 5 feet, whatever, so we can dunk.
We had those adjustable goals.
Right. That's when we felt good about ourselves playing basketball. But then, just like when Billy Ho dunks it on White Man Can't Jump, man, you see Ladd McConkey run a 4.39, and you're like, wait, the kid can run too? Crazy, man. What'd you think about Ladd at the combine, Bobby?
I mean, he showed out, right? Like Georgia's just known for that though lately, right? Like, I watch a lot of other people, and the dude from On 3, I can't remember what his name is, Pico.
I know you're talking about. Mm-hmm.
Like, was talking about Ladd McConkey, and he's like, man, Georgia seems to do this every year, right? Mm-hmm. Somebody shows up at the draft and just shows out just out of nowhere. And, I mean, he ran well, right? He ran well. His vertical was insane. He did phenomenal job on the drills. But did you see the bench press too?
I saw that, man. Was it like 20? Was it like 20 something, 23 reps?
That's strong.
Like just doing it all, and I'm just like, man, like I thought he initially probably just because he was hurt a lot, right? I thought he's maybe a late second round guy. Man, you could see him go late in the first round.
I heard Chiefs, man. I heard Chiefs, and how crazy! Like, what if? I mean, there's one thing about the difference between Ladd McConkey and Kadarius Toney is he ain't gonna drop the ball, bro. Yeah. He gonna catch the ball. No, nothing against my man. Nothing against my man Tony, but he is a Gator, So they have those problems. Not Pearsall. I mean, I like Pearsall, but yeah, man, he's a gamer, man. I was so excited to see him. I mean, obviously there wasn't many players that we caught work out. We'll see some. I'm curious to see who works out on Tuesday. The bad news I heard was Amarius Mims did a little tweak to the hamstring when he ran his 40 time. I mean, any guy that moves that much weight / muscle, I'll give you that, Amarius Mims. Weight / muscle that fast, I would feel like you're going to pull something, but not good news there. Hoping the best for that. What do you think about Amarius Mims? You see him run, Fish?
Man, big guys just don't look comfortable when they're sprinting. I love watching the offensive linemen and the defensive linemen run the 40, man. It's pretty funny. But they're moving, man. They're like
they're not paid. They're not paid to score touchdowns, bro.
They don't sprint very much. I mean, maybe if they're running downfield, you got to like on a pull, like when they're pulling, around the edge or something like that, maybe. But then it's a short burst. It's not really 40 yards. It's like maybe 10 or 15, maybe 20 before they hit somebody, and then that's it. They're done. Crazy. They stop. That's it. They fall over. They watch the guy.
Yeah.
Get all that going down. Oh man, that speed. Like I'd hate to be on the
hard to stop.
Yeah.
Lord.
Dude, he's a big boy. And then I don't think me personally, I don't think Mims should have broke a sweat that day. I think he might have been a little bit ill-advised. He should have done what Brock did, as well as I'm trying to figure out. So Mims worked out Brock. I mean, Brock, he ate popcorn. There was nothing for him to do, nothing he needed to show.
Not really.
Ladd had a lot to prove. I think Ladd upped his draft stock tremendously. Obviously, Javon Bullard ran in the 4.4s. Tyke Smith ran in the 4.4s. They were very impressive showings. I think they helped improve some of their draft stuff.
Ran well.
Amari Lassiter, yeah. Did you hear the news that he's looking at possibly a position change going into the NFL?
Really?
Yeah, I saw that. I think he's interviewing with a few people to possibly look at what it might look like to maybe look at the secondary, maybe a safety or a star type nickel type back
Okay.
to start out with, which, I mean, I get it. I mean, you do have to be. Kamari never really had that elusive, like breakaway, crazy speed. He's a physical cornerback, so he reminds me. He does remind me a little bit more of like a hard hitting safety. I feel like he's more of that.
Yeah.
I don't know though. I mean, it could be either or. You guys look at it. I mean, Nolan Smith played. He played on the edge most of the time in our defense, but they put him at linebacker at Philadelphia, and that's where he flourished towards the end of the year. So who knows?
He was doing
Um,
good.
yeah, I agree. I thought everybody that we saw at the combine looked great. So
Yep.
obviously the rest of whoever that is going to choose to work out, maybe some dogs. I know Dejan worked out. I know Cedric Van Prom was there, but I don't think he worked out. But a lot of great
No,
stuff
Milton
when you
worked
heard
out,
them
didn't
over
he?
the mic. Who's that?
Milton
Milton?
worked out, didn't
I
he?
didn't hear a lot about Milton. Did anybody hear anything about Milton? Like, I didn't hear his 40 time. I didn't hear any of that stuff.
40 time is in 4.6. I think Cedric Van Pron also worked out too at because I saw some numbers for those guys. But
Okay.
Yeah, I remember hearing about
Well,
his 40 time not being very fast, Kendall Milton, and then it
hmm,
went on, to talk about how his injuries held him back and stuff like that, what he could have done, and he
right,
heard it. He had some. He was his injury prone,
right.
especially
Yeah.
the
Well,
last
I
couple of
mean,
years.
I will tell you one thing. He's a great leader. I for me, as soon as I heard Jason Kelsey's retiring, I think the DNA of the Eagles to go draft Georgia players and need a center. I think Van Braun is going to be primed to land in Philadelphia if Philadelphia keeps their draft model.
Yeah,
Was it Sirianni? He loves Georgia players, and I'd be
yeah,
fine with that, bro. Because I kind of rooted for the Eagles a little bit heavier this year, man, because it was kind of the Georgia scout,
yeah. I
the Georgia
bookmarked him
JV team.
on my ESPN,
Yeah,
so we
yeah,
get alerts when they're playing and all that stuff. Yeah, I wanted to
yeah,
follow him for sure.
yeah, man, exciting. Well, hey, man, let's move towards the meat and potatoes of our show tonight, and I'm really excited. So I thought it would be great before spring practices. Some spring practices have already revved up. I know Auburn's going as we speak, maybe not as we speak, but they're definitely
They
in
need the
spring
extra
practice
time.
this week. Maybe so, maybe so. We're gonna figure out why in a minute, but I thought it would be cool to talk about spring storylines, like maybe what each SEC team needs to see really take a step forward to either a get back to the SEC championship, b have a chance to get there, to be a playoff team, and maybe some of these teams are just try to give them a storyline to go like, what do they need to do to improve overall? Maybe even unfortunately, if you're like Vandy, to win a game this year, right? No offense, Vandy. I just had to, but we want to talk about what we think is the key that they need to see in the spring, because obviously we know the portal will open back up, and after that, I mean, it's prediction time. It's what do we see happening, so on and so forth. Um, so we're gonna take a look at that tonight. I think it'll be fun. Um, you just reading a comment from Tim SDs. What's up, man? How are you? I'm sure Bobby will love knowing that you popped in. I saw this on Tim's page today. Shout out to Tim Estes too. He has a great podcast on Thursday nights, Integrity Sports Podcast. You guys go check it out. He does some interviews with some really incredible people. I love chiming in to listen to it. But he talked about Carson Westbrook commitment to prime time at the University of Colorado. Credible student athlete from Sly County. Product with Zacavius Walker, yeah, at Auburn. So congratulations. Thanks for the support, Tim. Thanks for popping in. We're going to try to get Tim on here one
Sir.
night.
I
This has been a great night. What was that, Bobby?
said I love that dude.
Everybody loves some Tim Estes, man. We can get past you're an Auburn fan, Tim. It's okay, man. You're
That's
one of
right.
the better ones. You're one of the better
Won't
ones.
hold it against you.
Right. So in alphabetical order, let's start out with this is not meant to, it just happens to fall like this, but let's start out with the Alabama Crimson Tide. Um, you know, Obviously I think we know the main storyline to them. I think, I read where, the over under is 9.5 as far as wins. The prediction for wins for Alabama is at 9.5. I think that You got it, Tim. I think that the biggest storyline for Alabama will be how quick can this roster mesh with the coaching staff and Kalen DeBoer, because it's not like Alabama doesn't have anything in the cupboard. They lost a little bit. They lost a lot. But this is a team that still has a lot of talent out there. So I'm thinking, my biggest storyline for them is, number one, an incredibly tough schedule. In my opinion, it's not the toughest, but it's definitely an incredibly tough schedule. But what do you guys think about Alabama? I mean, do you agree, disagree? I really think that they got to take a step forward and get this relationship with Kalen DeBoer and the trust in the coaching staff for anything positive past 8-9 wins this year. What do you think, Fish?
Yeah, I think 9 is good. 9's good for their over under. I mean, that sounds about right. I think they do have a lot of questions, but we all need to keep in mind that everyone there was handpicked, recruited by Saban. So there's still some dudes,
Mm-hmm.
no matter who left, they still, are just 1 year off of him, not even a year, like a couple of months off him being gone. So, everybody there on that team right now was recruited by him at one point or another. So
Right.
they're still going to be Bama, but I don't know if they're going to be, the mystique might be gone.
Right.
Oh no, Saban, we can't beat him. Especially for us Georgia fans. But
Right.
I think he's got a lot to prove. But we'll see soon enough.
Yeah, 3 points. 3 points is the spread, early spread on that Georgia game in Tuscaloosa, for obviously Georgia favored. Bobby, how quick do you think that this team can get the relationship going with Kalen DeBoer, and how important is it in order for Alabama? I mean, there's been rumor that Kalen DeBoer could have a one and done season. I'm going to tell you why in a second, but what do you think, Bobby?
I mean, really, it's going to be tough. I mean, it's an uphill battle, right? Like, if I'm writing a headline for Alabama, it's like DeBoer or DeBust, right?
Okay.
Yep.
Like, I mean, it can go either be the man, or he's going to fall
We're
flat.
going to see those signs on game day.
Yeah.
DeBust. Come on, man.
Sorry, Bobby.
Dude, might put it on here next week.
There we go. Yeah. Saban waited till like the 11th hour, right, to kind of dip out of there, and that time kind of hurt him.
Right.
I think so too.
All that time is valuable, getting those guys in, getting them in your system and your playbook. And as an athlete, when you're not confident, it shows, right? And that
That's
little half second takes you to actually think about what you're supposed to be doing instead of just naturally knowing can make a difference.
Right.
And so, man, I think that they're behind the 8 ball. It's going to be a challenge, and I'm going to tell you, if they win north of 9 games, you got to consider that a pretty successful season.
What's the if you gotta bet the farm, man? Like, are you over? Fish, are you over 9.5? Or are you under?
I am level. I think 9 sounds good. I think 9's good. I think
that's why Vegas gives you 9.5, bro. You got to make a pick.
I know one loss for sure. And LSU's not going to be a walk in the park either, because they got to go back to death for this year, right?
Yeah. So listen. Here's the thing. Here's the thing. Why I think, and we're gonna move quick, but obviously spend a little more time in Alabama right out of the gates. Here's where you have to worry, right? You have to worry about 2 things. Number one, Kalen DeBoer and the coaching staff, meshing with this team. But here's some things you got to think. Out of the box, they get Western Kentucky and USF at home. Then they got to go on the road against Wisconsin. Do they need to be worried about Wisconsin? I don't know. It's your first road game with Kalen DeBoer, and it's at Wisconsin, and I just don't know, man. Like, there's a time and place where Wisconsin is hopefully with Fickell. I mean, look, Fickell was not. He's a good coach. Like, it's gonna start clicking somewhere.
He's not a chump. So I mean,
yeah. And so, do you have what kind of game do you have at Wisconsin? Then you get a bye. Then you got Georgia coming to town. But those are not even the games I want to talk about. Here's the games where you got to figure out if the fans start getting a little bit iffy about this, right? Missouri at home, a lot of people are calling for it's at Tennessee again. It's at Tennessee. There's a lot riding on. I mean, we all know that Tennessee lost at Bama last year. They called it a fluke because the year before, when Rocky Top and Morgan Wallen wrote the Tennessee beats Alabama song. So you got to go to Knoxville. You got to play Missouri at home. Then you got to go to LSU, Mercer, to Oklahoma. Now, where the fans, if there's some losses in there, I don't think that's where the fans get uneasy. But I will tell you where they get real uneasy is if they let Auburn come in their backyard and win. Now, that's where the Alabama faithful go, is this the right guy? Now, granted, you'll hear some at Oklahoma, you'll hear some at LSU, Missouri, Tennessee. But if Auburn comes in first year and beats them at home, you have chaos, because that is one thing that has not been done in a long, long time. As Kirby said when he came in, it might not seem like a lot right now, but our first focus is to own the state of Georgia. The first focus for DeBoer is to make sure that he secures, I'm going to sound like a politician right here, secure the borders of Alabama. You still have to be the dominant team in Alabama, because you don't want to lose the recruiting battle, because at the end of the day, it is about X's and O's, but it's also about NIL and portal now. So that's where I think it's going to get a little iffy, and that's why I think it's crucial for them to mesh very quickly. Because also you could be talking about, if they don't, you might not even get to those wins and losses, because I would hate to see a mass exodus if things don't click together. They get 30 days at the end of end of April, middle of April, something like that. I would hate to see them lose more talent in the portal because they don't believe in what they've seen for 2.5 weeks. But moving along, Fish, I'm gonna let you grab this one. What do you think's got to be? What's the storyline for Arkansas this year? What do you think they got to do to kind of change the game as far as them to get some more wins this year?
Well, it's got to be Bobby Petrino replacing Dan Enos. I mean, he's back in Arkansas, offensive coordinator. No KJ Jefferson, so he's been kind of dealt not a good hand, right off the rip. So I don't know. He's got a lot to prove. And what did they average last year per play? I think 5 yards play last year, which was bottom of the SEC. So
yeah,
that's not good. And only I don't know. He's got a lot to do. He's got his work cut out for him. There's going to be a QB competition. I know that.
yeah.
I don't know who even is the leader, who's the front runner. I don't know much about the guys that they brought in, but we'll see.
There's a guy, I think his name is Malachi Singleton.
Yeah,
pretty good athlete there. The thing that's intriguing about Petrino, I'll give you two storylines before I pitch to you, Bobby. Two storylines. One, how weird would it be if Arkansas gets off to a rough start? They can Pittman 5 games in, and Petrino is back the head coach of Arkansas. What in the world? We're full
his
circle,
seat is
bro.
on fire. I mean, he's basically got a flame behind him on the sideline, walking around. I mean, he's on the hot seat. Like, they let him know. There's no mistake about it.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, that's the storyline there. But also, here's the other one before I pitch to you, Bobby. I thought that Petrino did an incredible job, when Connor Wakeman went down last year at A&M, with the coaching, with the quarterback situation and the offense at Texas A&M. I will be honest with you. I think Jimbo and Petrino, like, I wondered last year if they were going to butt heads a little bit, and I think they did a little bit. And I think that's sometimes what held the offense back. I think you had a little micromanaging over the headset a little bit. I mean, it's Jimbo Fisher. I mean, he's an offensive guy. So, but that was supposed to be the whole deal, What do you think about Arkansas? Do you agree, Bobby? Like, you think that offense obviously has to take a step forward for Arkansas to win some more games and possibly save Pittman's job this year?
Yeah, man. So it's Petrino is either going to come in there and save the world, or he's going to be heading out of town on his motorcycle again.
Hopefully this time successfully. Successfully. God,
that poor guy.
You guys are bad, dude. Maybe if anything, he's a little bit smarter and second time around. I honestly don't know how anybody let him back in the state. The only way it would have been was if Pittman, Pittman kind of like bodyguard styled him into the state and like, look, he's with me, because nobody else is letting this guy in by himself in Arkansas. I didn't see. Like I said, I would have loved to have Grant Adams on tonight to see what he thinks about the Bobby
Yes.
Petrino hire. So Grant, if you're checking this out, man, later on, pop in the
I
comments,
would
man.
love to hear an
Grant.
Arkansas fan like their thoughts on Petrino. I would love to hear like what their initial reaction was to that.
I think honestly, as long as the offense can do something better than they've done in the last 3 years, I think anybody will invite any. I mean, Dan Enos was like awful.
Garbage.
Like, I don't even have the words, man. So, but for time's sake, let's move on. Bobby, what do you think about them Auburn Tigers, man? What does Auburn, in honor of Tim Estes on this one, what does Auburn got to do in spring and over the summer, and then out of the gates to improve this season on the season they had last year?
Yeah, man. So, just kind of what I'm thinking when I think of Auburn is, I feel like they did a good job on the recruiting trail, right? I feel like they brought in some pieces that they needed, but the biggest question for me for Auburn is, do they have any type of identity at QB?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, that's such a critical role, and they just have not had that, in a while, right? And so, do they have that guy that is now going to step up and be a leader from the QB position and get it done? And what identity do they want to take? They kept swapping back and forth, right? So, if you've heard it said, if you've got two quarterbacks, you really don't even have one, right?
Right.
And so that when I think of Auburn, man, it's kind of been that battle back and forth last year and even the year before some, Bo Nix, when he left, they struggled there, right? Even when he was there, he struggled in the SEC,
Yeah. Well, that was coaching. I mean, we all know. I mean, I think everybody would agree that's listening right now. But I don't even want to call the name to Auburn fans, because I don't want you to, if you are listening, to hate us. But Hugh Freeze is picking up the pieces for you. But I agree, Bobby. I think they have to make. I think that Peyton Thorne has to take a step forward. Nix, Nix. I forget the guy's name. That's a big move. They bring in him from Lane Kiffin's staff. I think that was a great move. Runs the same style offense as Hugh Freeze. The biggest thing I think the media is not getting is that Hugh Freeze, that system wasn't Hugh Freeze's system last year. They couldn't run that system last year. They didn't have the people to run that system. So they had to put together some things just to fit the mold of what they had. Maybe they try to add the system in now with a full year with Hugh Freeze there, and they got this guy coming from Ole Miss. But Peyton Thorne has to take a step forward. I've heard Cam Coleman. I mean, they're in spring ball right now. Cam Coleman, I heard, looks like a man among boys as far as a freshman wide receiver that's catching balls for them. He looks the part. He looks the part. And then I think it's Walker White from. I mean, is there a quarterback battle brewing? I mean, I don't know, man. Peyton Thorne's got to take a step forward, or Auburn is going to easily find themselves in a dilemma, because their schedule is not easy either. I mean, last time I looked, you got Oklahoma, you got to go to Georgia, you got to go to Missouri, you got to play Ole Miss. I'm sorry, that did not load. I apologize. No, you got to go to Texas A&M, and you got to go to Alabama. So you got to go to Alabama and to Georgia, and you got to play Missouri at home. And Missouri is going to be good this year. We'll get to them in a little bit. So I'm concerned about Auburn. Auburn could start out. I mean, but here's the thing: Auburn could start out 4-0. I mean, they got Alabama, A&M, Cal at home, New Mexico at home, Arkansas at home. That should be 4 wins. You got Oklahoma. We'll see what Oklahoma's made out of early. But guys, they don't leave Alabama until they go to Athens. So that's not good for Auburn. I mean, they get. Go ahead, Bobby.
Auburn at home
Yeah,
Georgia,
Georgia Auburn. Georgia's at home.
like no, I'm saying like Auburn playing anyone at home
Right.
is never out of the that
Yeah,
that crowd is insane, bro.
yeah.
Yeah,
It's hard
that's
to play
a very
certain
hard
hair.
place to play.
It is hard to
Yeah,
play here. Like those fans, they do a great job for that university because they get crunk up in there.
Yeah, that's a
yeah.
loud ass. I mean, that's a loud stadium. Excuse my French, but that is a
Yeah,
loud stadium.
Yeah.
yeah, no, man. I got a chance to be in that stadium, Georgia Auburn this year with my brother, as a big Auburn fan, and it's funny because I go back and KJ Bolden visited Auburn on that trip, was on the Auburn sideline, and I remember taking pictures. He was walking around with Cam Newton, and to know that he's a dog now is wild. But man,
Yeah,
Auburn gave Georgia every bit they could, and that crowd was in it. They believed, but some of the best fans too, man. Like I
yeah,
was, and shout out to Auburn. They have a great experience down there, great game day experience.
yeah,
Um, every place I went with my Georgia gear on, pretty much they looked at you and said, "Listen, you're welcome here until you start doing that barking. When you start doing that barking, you're out of here." And so I
yeah,
was like, "Hey, listen, no big deal, no barking. We're good. Good people, man.
yeah.
Great
Yeah, they're
atmosphere." And I totally agree.
classy fans.
I totally agree that Auburn is always in a ball game. They could win 5 games, and then once again, kind of like this team I'm fixing to talk about, could end up 5-7. Um, but I'm curious to see what happens with the quarterback battle and if he takes a step forward. Moving along though, Florida. Um, man, Billy Napier. Whew. Honestly, I mean, I think the prime thing we need to talk about Florida is how much can this defense improve for Florida. I mean, they're just bad, man. The defense was bad. They're on another defensive coordinator this year. So Napier got him a veteran. They got Ron Roberts coming in, veteran coordinator. So he knows that he's starting to, as we call it, like maybe we started a little bit of your last will and testament. You started it today, this year. Next year, you might have to use it. So he's starting to make some hires. He makes some coaching hires he makes some behind the scenes like staff hires. It was weird to kind of help him run the thing better. But I heard even this weekend that he's a great player developer, great guy, great Christian guy, great mentor. But the one thing that I heard this person saying that is a Florida alum and Florida fan, all his kids went to Florida, was he wasn't hired to have to be a player developer like a or a good role model. He was hired to win games at Florida, and
Yeah,
so that's the tough spot right now with Florida. But I mean, they lost a ton in the secondary. There's nothing but freshmen and sophomores going to be in that secondary for Florida this year, unless they got some stuff done in the portal. But all I can see with Florida is can this defense just keep them from not being able to just have to throw the ball the entire game, because Graham Mertz and that line is the line. You can't hide offensive and defensive line problems. You just can't.
no.
What do you think about Bobby? What do you think about Florida? What do you think about that take? Anything you want to add to that?
Man, all I think of when I think of Billy Napier is Sunbelt Billy, right? Like, he's kind of stuck there, right? And did he hire an offensive coordinator?
He did not. He did not.
And see, me, I think that's going to be his downfall, right?
Yeah.
Because he doesn't manage the game well. It's like it almost moves too fast for him. Um, and a lot of my buddies are Florida fans. My in-laws are Florida fans. I think Billy Napier is a wonderful guy, but he gets paid to win ball games,
Mm-hmm.
and if he doesn't improve on his in-game management, if he's blessed enough to get one more year, he better hire a legitimate offensive coordinator, or he won't make it the following year. Right,
Yeah.
he's on the hot seat. They're giving him a little time, bringing his recruits, and because he's known as this great recruiter. But
It is.
you saw what happened, man. They had a ton of people bail, and they lost,
Right.
Yeah,
and
a
they
lot
had
of
a ton
people weren't buying in to what he was selling.
because they don't believe in him.
Yep.
Right? And so, um, does he finally leave the Sun Belt and graduate to the SEC? That's what I want to know because he's still coaching like he's in the Sun Belt, and it doesn't win in the SEC.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's it, man. I mean, Nate. I mean, you. He's got a lot to accomplish this year, and I don't want to stack his plate too high because it's big, it's tall. I mean, you got to figure out how you're going to keep DJ Lagway. You got Graham Mertz. How quick does the schedule get thick for them? Could they be 5-0 and go 5-7? I mean, why am I saying that? Is because if you look at their schedule, I mean,
It's hard.
it's hard, man. But here's the thing: they got
Looked
Miami.
easy in the beginning.
No, they got Miami. They got them home. But Miami's supposed to be improved. I mean, I'm trying to figure out when Cristobal is going to be improved when they're not in the SEC, so we'll still stay out of that. Samford, Texas A&M, Mississippi State, and then a bye. But then, then you start going. I mean, UCF, they got to go to UCF, man. They can get put in their place right there. UCF's going to be a good team this year. You got Kentucky, you got a bye. You got Georgia and Jacksonville. You got to go to Texas, LSU, Ole Miss, Florida State. Whoa, it could start. You could start out. And here's my thing, man. If you lose, so Miami, I think they'll be favored against Miami, maybe. Um, you're home against Texas A&M. You're going to beat Mississippi State. You're going to beat Sanford. So if you go 2-2 right there, you make good 2-3 of UCF, 2-4 Tennessee, maybe Kentucky, maybe not. 3-4. Then you got Georgia 3-5, Texas 3-6, LSU 3-7, Ole Miss 3-8. I mean, could they be 3-9? That's bad, dude. I don't know.
Let
I don't
me
really know.
add to what I said, because one of the things that's tough for Billy Napier is that since he has walked in the door at Florida, the schedule has not done him any favors.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, let's
Who is
be
making their schedule?
Georgia, we had a pretty easy schedule, a couple of years, right? But it started that way. In the end, we played some very tough teams that did really well at the end of the season. But Billy Napier walked into a train wreck and
Right.
absolutely got no consideration in that schedule. Like he has had to play one of the toughest schedules every single year since he's been there, and this year is no different. This is probably the toughest one, and they've been really hard. Like
Right.
have one of the toughest schedules in the country, not just the SEC, in the country. And so if he has a winning record this year for Florida with that schedule and all the chaos that's happened there, you kind of got to look and say, hey, yeah, that's a pretty bright spot considering where we were, right? I mean, they've
Mm-hmm.
2 years in a row, 6-7, something like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I can dig that take. I'm scared. I'm scared for
I,
Florida because it could get bad this year. And does Napier get another year shot at it? Does he get a bye and then he gets 5 games next year? They have nobody on that staff that could take that team over right now. I think Florida's in a very, very bad situation, if I'm honest with you. I really do.
Yeah.
It doesn't look good.
I can't stand them, but I am honest, right? Like,
Right.
not done them any favors.
Yeah. All right, Fish, you got the luck of the draw, man. We'll do Georgia really quick. Does Georgia have any? I mean, do they have any just things that they're just missing on? I have some notes here, but what do you think Georgia needs to do? So, in my opinion, a tough schedule this year, but to go get some of these games that are going to be tough ones. They're going to be favored in every. I think they're favored in every game this year. Even at Texas, I think they're I think they're a 3-point favorite in Texas. But what do you think they got to do this year to win the national championship? What is the big key factor?
Secondary.
Yeah,
secondary. We had one of the best pass defenses in the nation last year, and we lost 3, NFL caliber people that showed out at the combine this weekend. So I mean, that just shows you a little bit of what we lost. Like, that's ridiculous. we got some guys coming in, that are going to have to prove themselves. It's definitely going to be the big question mark, that we have. Our offense just speaks for itself. We're good. We reloaded.
Yeah.
Carson Beck coming in, Heisman candidate, good. Travis or ETN transferring from
Mm-hmm.
Florida.
Mm-hmm.
Got a bunch of young, hungry tight ends. Got some good wide receivers out of the portal this year. So yeah,
Yeah.
our linebackers, D line. We got some
Yeah.
veterans coming back. Got some. CJ Allen got a lot of good playing time last year. Like Pop's getting hurt probably hurt us real bad last year, but helped us set up. Giving CJ Allen a lot of playing time, a lot more experience. Got all us
Yeah.
fans got a good look at him, and I feel pretty confident in his ability. I think at middle linebacker, that inside linebacker will be good to go. But yeah,
Dude,
secondary for sure, man.
we're young in some areas, but we replaced that youth with men. I mean, I think that are
Mhm.
going to be. I mean, I think KJ Bolden can make as big or more of an impression that Caleb Downs did if given the chance in the SEC. And I haven't even scratched Ellis Robinson. I like Justin Williams, inside linebacker. Like, I can see why Pop hit the exit doors.
Young
I don't want
boys
to spend a
coming up
lot on
pretty good.
Georgia. Yeah, I don't want to spend a lot of time on Georgia tonight because I think we know that
Yeah.
Georgia has not a lot of weaknesses. I think the biggest thing this year is going to be the schedule. I think Kirby likes this though. I think he likes not having to, get up for like I think he just likes being able to stay up. He likes that. He's like, man, we just played Texas on the road, and now we get dun dun dun, Missouri, and I think he
Keeps them on a
likes
high
that.
level. Yeah,
Yeah, I
it's
think I
good.
think he
It's
likes
good for
it.
the
I think
team.
he didn't stray away from it. But really quick, 30 seconds, Bobby. You agree with that take? Give you a little shot at Georgia, really quick.
Yeah, I like that, but I also I think you need to give me one on both sides of the ball. And what I mean by that is I need one guy on that defensive line that's going to draw a double team, right? Like
Right.
you had Davis,
I like that.
Jalen Carter. I need one guy on the offensive side of the ball that's going to be a guy that they plan around, like Brock Bowers. Yeah, I can't speak.
Right. Right.
I need one guy that's going to draw an extra defender, right? Because it gives me a huge advantage. And
Yeah.
in those national championship teams, you had that.
Right.
I think that's what makes all the difference. So I want to see somebody in the spring game really step up, especially on that defensive front.
Right.
That's kind of where I'm at on that.
Yeah. That's fair. That's fair. I agree with that. We'll see. Will be all eyes on Monday. And just so you know, for the listeners, I'm trying to work it out. Maybe we get us a G-Day show. Maybe I got to get the game on the screen here. Maybe we can just watch a little bit and talk about it. But moving ahead, I
That'd
will
be
stay
fun.
with you, Bobby. What do you think about Kentucky? What do you think they got to do this year to be successful and maybe win? I think over under them right now is 8.5. It's gonna be tough. What do you think about Kentucky?
Yeah, I'm going to tell you, Kentucky always has good defense. Their defense, it gets in the backfield, like their defensive line, their linebackers are really solid. On the edges, like out on the perimeter, your corners they struggle. So I'm gonna need some solid corner play, and then I want to see what's Vandegrift going to do, right? So
Mm-hmm.
you bring Vandegrift in, you need that that quarterback who can get it done. Past couple of guys, man, they hyped them up, but they really wound up being just slightly above me.
Yeah.
So we'll see
How
what.
big of a bus was Devin Leary, man?
Right,
Hey, yikes!
right, yeah, right, and he was
I
all
don't
around.
want that for Vandegrift. I
I
Yeah,
don't
don't want.
either.
I
I like
mean,
Brock.
but
I want.
he's on enemy turf now, bro. Like him
I
and
want him to
Pop
have
are on enemy
11
turf,
good games next year.
Yep.
right?
Yeah, no, and Pop's gonna go in there and do his thing. He's gonna have a great season, I believe. I think Vandegrift, depending on if he's got any guys to throw to, right? I really don't know much about their receiving core, but they're gonna have to get it done on offense, and their corners have got to play better. That's
Yeah,
Kentucky. That's the two issues for me.
yeah. I think that game in October, Kentucky Georgia is a circle around that game. It's going to be interesting. I agree. I think the pieces, can they fall into place on offense? Liam Cohen leaves in the middle of the night to go to the Bucks, be the offensive coordinator there. I heard that a lot of that was, I think Cohen got uneasy because, obviously we know Stoops was in the running for the A&M job. Some said he didn't want it. Some said he did, but Cohen got a little bit uneasy during that time frame. But I also heard that Cohen was trying to get out too, because just like Fisher, there was a little bit of a little pushback, a little micromanaging on the play calling duty with Cohen last year.
Must be a
So
lot because this is their 5th OC in 5 years.
yeah, I think Stoops is a defensive guy. I think it's uncomfortable. You remember, that was a big whole thing with Kirby, with Chaney, with Coley before he re-entered. He just told those guys, he's like, look, I'm not saying I don't want a high-powered offense. I want to put points on the board, but also, like, we got to be balanced, and we gotta be able to make sure that the defense isn't on the field for, I don't know, 3 of the 4 hours of the game or whatever.
Right.
So Kirby went through that as well, but I think Stoops is micromanaging offensive coordinators, and I think now that it comes up with Cohen, it makes sense because they've been through them. Like, I don't know, it's just it's like a kid changing cereals. Like it's just kind of like, what do I want next? I stay proud. Fruity Pebbles, man. Like, I'm staying proud. Going to get Fruity Pebbles, bro. You're not gonna turn me a different direction, dude. Fruity Pebbles are great. I like them when they get soggy.
Yes, I do too.
LSU, man.
Unpopular take there, man.
LSU. I think this is Captain Obvious, man. LSU has got to improve on defense this year, man. Like,
capital D.
Yeah, defense has to be improved. Abysmal. I mean, dude, they're surrendering 6.14 yards per play, ranked at the bottom of the SEC, right above our friends from Nashville, Vanderbilt. Brian Kelly, significant staff overhaul. Filled some key personnel holes. I heard that.
This year.
Yeah, I heard they have some position changes. Harold Perkins, I heard, is back. He's going back to middle linebacker, so that might be good for them. Incredible playmaker.
That's huge for them.
But quick take on them. Fish, what do you got on LSU? You agree? I think this might be an all around the board agreement, but I want to see if you got something different. But defense has got to take a step forward.
Oh yeah, I mean, you're 118th nationally last year in pass defense. That's terrible. That's not going to win the games, especially in the SEC, playing the level of competition that you have to play week to week. They got some quality assistants, though. Kevin Peoples, I like him. Bo Davis, Corey Raymond. They're all going to help out Blake Baker next year. It's going to look different. Perkins sticking and going back to middle is huge for them because he's going to be the captain of that defense. He's going to be the leader in the locker room. He's going to be the guy that they look to, the quarterback on the field, for the defense, getting everybody lined up where they need to go. I think him sticking around was huge.
Yeah, and I think he just knows that, there's a few left that understand the pageantry of college football, and I think he knew how bad they were last year. And it could have been some coaching, but we also know that sometimes players play up or down to who they're getting coached by. And so I don't know the whole storyline, but I will tell you that I watched that Ole Miss LSU game from Alabama after the Georgia Auburn game at a Buffalo Wild Wings, and bro, so many wide open receivers, so many points scored. I mean, don't get me wrong, Ole Miss's defense was a horrible last year as well. So it's a battle of the terrible defenses, but that's just not LSU's DNA. Ole Miss has been known to have some questionable defenses in the past, but not LSU. Not LSU. It just wasn't a good look, Bobby. LSU, you got the same take?
Yeah,
defense
going to be super important. You hit on it in the last talk, in the last thing we were talking about when you were talking about Kirby said he wanted to have balance, right? LSU's offense is a perfect example of why that defense struggled. They were quick hitters. You had Jaden Daniels throwing to Malik Neighbors, and their offense spent no time on the field because they scored quick, and defense didn't have an opportunity to rest, and they got torched. They got torched
late in the game for sure.
majority of the game on the field. And they had to have an offense like they had just to stay in some games. This year, they're not going to have that kind of offense. It might help their defense.
Yeah.
Because they have to be more balanced on offense. Now, what's his name? Nussmeier or something
Nussmeier.
like that?
I like Nussmeier. I think he'll be fine.
Too.
He can sling it, right? But
yeah.
they don't have the receivers they had. So I think you're going to see several teams probably go back to running the ball some more just to balance that out because their defenses are getting destroyed.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's stay with you, Bobby. What do you think? I might be out of order, by the way. I'm sorry too, but let's hop in. Bobby, Mississippi State. What do you think they got to do to take a step forward this year? Yeah, obviously got Jeff Lebby, new coaching staff.
Man, I'm going to tell you, I just think Mississippi State's a mess.
Yeah.
I just, they got a new coach, but I don't think it's going to make a difference, man. They're going to be near the bottom of the group. I don't have any faith in Mississippi State.
Turned one starter on offense, Justin Robinson. Remember that name sound familiar?
Yeah.
One starter on offense. Lord. Quarterback battle, sort out, all 5 starters on the line. Lebby is going to do his best work ever. I'm curious to see. I will tell you that if anybody can do it on offense, it's Lebby. I mean, he had a great game plan for Oklahoma against Texas last year. One of the most strategic play calling games I've ever seen and witnessed. Just diced Texas up. Now, don't get me wrong, Oklahoma, you would have thought that, the defensive minded, who's my guy from Clemson that went to Oklahoma, Brent Venables, that the defense, but I have not seen the Brent Venables defense in Oklahoma yet. But Mississippi State, yeah, I think I actually have tickets to that game this year. I couldn't go to the Georgia Auburn one this year, and then we always like to try to go see, when we haven't seen. We've seen Tennessee. Tennessee will be a good game, but we have the Mississippi State game, so we'll get to see Lebby's offense in action. I'm hoping that we don't get to see much of it. But I agree with you. I think the take on Mississippi State is I'm just curious to see. I guess the spring outlook is, what is the offense going to look like? Who's the quarterback? What are we fielding?
We have the guys to be able to run a really good offense, right? You can have X's and O's, but if you don't have the Jimmies and Joes, you're lost.
Yeah, I like that. Moving quick. Missouri, what do you got, Fish? What do you think Missouri needs to move forward this year?
I think the only question they're going to have is on the defensive side of the ball. I mean, whether they have Brady Cook, Burden, Theo Wees, and Mookie Cooper all coming back, had good years last year. They got that transfer from Georgia State, Marcus Carroll.
Yeah.
He's supposed to slide into that running back role, be their bell cow guy, get the majority of the carries, help them out, fill those shoes. They lost some studs on defense to the NFL this year, and they got a couple of guys coming in out of the portal, but nobody really knows.
Yeah.
I mean, they're just defense is gonna be their question mark this year.
Yeah. So Chris Abrams drained, Ennis Rakestraw, Jalen Carley's secondary is depleted. You got guys like Darius Robinson, Tyrone Hopper. I mean, they lost a lot on the defensive side of the ball, and they lost their coordinator. So a lot of questions on that side of the ball from Missouri. Bobby, what you think about Missouri? You agree with that take, or?
Yeah, man, they lost some phenomenal athletes on the defensive side of the ball. But I'm gonna say this: Drinkwitz has a way of putting a good defense together.
I know
they have been consistently good. Has he had enough time to really build any depth? So we're gonna see if he's been able to create any type of depth with his recruiting, and it'll show this season. Either he did or he didn't. But Missouri is a program where the trajectory is heading in the right direction for sure.
They might have one of the best offenses in the SEC this year. They're gonna be scary out of the ball.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to lose any productivity. Receivers are going to be incredible. Theo Wees. And I got Cook up there in a big echelon. Obviously, I don't want to forget Luther Burden, but I like Carroll. I think he was great. Can it transfer to, SEC, Missouri? Can he be the bell cow? I think I heard that. is I don't think he's the. You can't say is he the next Schrader, because Schrader was a different being. Schrader was a staple at Missouri for a long time. He was a Missouri guy. But yeah, I think defense. But every year when I think that after DJ, I think it was DJ Durkin was his name, after he leaves Missouri, and then they get the new court. I mean, it's always a little bit of Eli Drinkowitz's process. It's kind of like Kirby at Georgia. Like, yes, they have some defensive minds there, and we could have gone all day long with Georgia, because I'm also looking forward to Georgia to seeing how that defensive room meshes. It's one of the most talented defensive coaching staffs, if not the most talented coaching staffs in the country. I do think Kirby is. I don't care what anybody says. Kirby is the best coach right now in college football, hands down. It's hard to not say that. He's built the best staff that you can put together. Schumann is a head coach in waiting. Bobo, yeah, he wasn't successful, but he's head coaching material. T-Rob will be the next defensive coordinator, if not a head coach somewhere. Dante Williams is an incredible recruiter. I mean, it is an incredible coaching staff. But saying all that to say is there's footprints of Kirby in all of that. So no matter who you pick and put in and place in, he has taken on that Nick Saban type thing where it's like, it's his defense. It's his offensive mindset scheme. This is what I want to do. And from jump, the reason why Monken and Kirby were so successful was Kirby's like, I want to get the ball to the playmakers. I don't care what type of offense you run. I don't care. I know I want to be balanced, and I want to get the ball to the playmakers, period. I don't care how that happens. Make it happen. That's what's been helpful for Bobo, because Bobo's like, he's not thinking, well, do I run here? Do I pass here? I think he's thinking of, it's 3rd and 8. Here's the part of the field we're on. Who needs to have the ball in their hands? That's what he's thinking. And so he goes and finds the play that happens. And that's why the play calling, knock on wood, has been really good for Georgia. But I think the same way with Missouri. I think Drinkowitz is going to have a hand in the defense. It never drops off, but it will be his biggest challenge in a while, which he's due, because he had an incredible year last year. But moving along really quick, hopping straight into Ole Miss. I am sorry, I skipped. Let's not skip. Oklahoma.
Can't skip the newies.
I had one that I went to straight here. I don't know if you guys saw this a lot, because they weren't in the. They have a very easy schedule next year, but the offensive line from last year was the reason why Dylan Gabriel is no longer at Oklahoma. That guy was running for his life. The offensive line was horrid. They have to replace the offensive line. Now, they got a lot of guys through the portal. Spencer Brown, Michigan State, Garen Hatchett from Washington. A lot of, changed the line coach. Bill Bedenhall, will he fit in the mix? But I think the line for Oklahoma has to get better. I don't know if you guys got a couple takes on Oklahoma. What do you think, Fish?
They lost their whole starting offensive line and a couple of good backups, man.
And they weren't that good. They lost the whole line, and the line was bad.
Yeah, I know. And who in the world is he going to bring in to fix that? I mean, he got a couple of good transfers, man. Like that Michael Tarquin from USC, was like a bright spot on a otherwise bad USC season last year.
Right.
So, I mean, I don't know. We'll see. That's huge, man. Because if you're not scoring points, you're not winning games.
Yeah, I think it's the key.
Defense wins championships, but that's a long run. You got to win. Yeah. You got to score some points.
Yeah, I think it's the key, but there's a lot of things Oklahoma has to kind of do. I mean, I heard, a lot of people are high on Arnold, the quarterback. I mean, I forget his first name, but
Jackson.
Jackson Arnold. Yeah, a lot of people are high on him. But here's the thing: we all know if there's one place you can't hide if you have a lack of something, it's the offensive and the defensive line. Amarius Mims said it. Yeah, I mean, look at Georgia. I firmly will tell you, if Georgia's offensive line is healthy against Alabama in the SEC championship, that's a different game. It's a completely different game.
I think so.
You can't hide it. You can't expose the offensive line. Bobby, anything you want to add to Oklahoma?
Yeah, man, it's SEC football. It's about the big boys in the trenches.
Right.
And if you don't have it on both sides, you're gonna get beaten around, right? And I don't think this is just bad timing for Oklahoma to come into the SEC. I think Texas will be fine. Oklahoma's going to
Right.
struggle.
Yeah.
They're going to struggle.
Yeah.
They have the offensive line. If you don't have an offensive line as a quarterback, it's hard to build any confidence, right? So that whole entire offense is going to struggle, and
Right.
they haven't had an identity yet on defense. So it's going to be a tough year for Oklahoma, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Bobby, I'll let you take Ole Miss. What do you think Ole Miss got to do this year to put their best foot forward? And I think Ole Miss is one of the top 3 teams in the SEC this year, but what do they got to do to actually kind of stand their ground this year and get better?
So what we got to find out is what was the money that was spent on the transfer portal?
Yeah.
Was it an expensive defense?
Right. Was it worth it? Right. They brought in a guy from my hometown, Pooh Paul, linebacker, heck of a player, hard-nosed kid.
Pooh Paul, with a great name.
Yeah, Chris Paul Jr.
A heck of an athlete, right? And he's a workhorse. He will get after it, right? If that defense takes on his mentality, they're going to be scary. But he brought in a lot of pieces, I feel like, that were kind of the things that held him back last year. And so I look for Ole Miss to have a successful season, but it's really going to depend on, can they stay healthy, right? At QB, can they stay healthy? And what are those portal guys? Because, picking up athletes at the portal is one thing, but bringing them into your program, teaching them your way and team chemistry, that's something that doesn't happen easily. But he did get the guys in there, and I see on Twitter there, or X, whatever it's called now, they spend a lot of time together, and so I think they're really gelling. But we'll see how it happens on the field.
Yeah, that's what I got too, man. Got to take a step forward. Can this bought defense under Pete Golding take a step forward? Newsflash: Georgia beats Ole Miss in basketball 69-66.
69-68 or 66.
66. Dude, what?
Nice.
How? I don't know.
Florida is straight wax in Alabama right now. 101.
That's a whole nother. I don't understand this. Yeah, I agree. South Carolina. So I'll be honest. South Carolina, man. My take was, here's my take, man. I think they got to solidify the quarterback position. I like this guy, Lenora Sellers. Is he on track? He's a freak athlete. He's got that, that vibe of like an Anthony Richardson type vibe guy. But you know what? I'm going to change my take. I think for them to take a step forward, Shane Beamer has to start acting like a head coach. I think he has to stop whining. He has to stop making excuses. He has to own everything up. I mean, James Coley he's literally at, South Carolina for 30 days, and he comes out and he takes a stab at Kirby. And I'll be honest with you, man, like the stab is not legit. It's a bad look for South Carolina. It's like, he goes into I want, coaches that want to be here. And so we went out and we got the hire that was actually of a better hire. Okay, bro, right there, you made the worst comment you can make, because, bro, it was the guy that you turned down to hire James Coley. And then you go back and say it's the guy that we wanted here. No, it wasn't. You hired James Coley over this guy, and then you went back and got your second choice. It just made him look awful. I'll let you guys chime in on this, but 110%, South Carolina has the opportunity to be okay this year. If Lenore Sellers, if he pans out, they got a chance to do okay this year. They've done some good things, in recruiting. But dude, Beamer's just got to grow up. He's got the short man syndrome, man. Fish, what do you got? What do you think about South Carolina? I changed my take because, man, I've just seen too much about Beamer lately. I'm just sick of it.
He was like, oh, hey, look, I'm over here. Like, I need the attention. Look at me.
Yeah.
I want to be relevant. Look at me. Don't forget about me. We're going to go into Columbia and drop 50 next year. Kirby's going to run it up. That was just, why take an unnecessary jab at somebody? It didn't work out. Oh, well, that's the times we live in now. Nobody's happy. Everybody's changing. Everything's changing, evolving. Nobody, you're only, just the flavor of the day, the taste of the day, or however you want to say it, it changes all the time. Who knows
Like,
what happened? I mean,
bro, we care about Shane Beamer freaking out at South Carolina about as much as we care about Arch Manning not opting into college football with his 76
don't get me
overall
started
rating.
on
Like,
that. Oh
yeah,
my
dude, you
God.
told me I need to go. Nobody
The
cares,
Mannings
Arch
didn't want him to
Manning.
be a backup. They didn't want him to be a backup. He wasn't going to be the starter. He's going to have a low rating on that game. And if anybody wants to really play with him, they can just create him.
Nobody
Like, who
cares,
cares?
bro. Like,
Who cares?
we don't care that you didn't like. I don't know how that's a distraction. He comes out and he's like, I just want to focus on this, bro.
What an
It's a
excuse,
free
bro.
$600. Just get your
What?
$600. Go buy you
All
three
he
pair of
literally had to
Jordans and call
do
it a
was
day.
click a button. All he had to do was
Yeah,
click a button, say opt in. You get a $600 check in the mail and a free copy of the game before anyone else.
but it's
Versus
kind of like
just
that, right?
hitting no.
It's kind of like how many people. I mean, the storyline was big because it was Arch Manning. I mean,
And why?
here's the name. So Jeff, there's probably a play. So Jeff Thompson from TCU, he didn't opt in. Did you guys hear about that? I don't
No.
even know who Jeff Thompson is. The only reason you heard about Arch Manning is because he's
I
His
mean,
a
last name.
Manning, dude.
Yeah.
And I'm
Yeah.
not trying to drag the guy, but I'm like, I don't care if you don't want to be in the game, bro. It's EA Sports. It's already in the game. It's
It
already
doesn't
in the
make
game,
him it
bro.
doesn't make him look good. It doesn't make him
Yeah.
look good. It just makes him look stupid and
What
petty.
were you gonna have to put? Like, you know how sometimes you went to the old college games and you're like, I'm gonna put in the backup. Why? Because the backup had an
Dude.
89 speed and the other guy had like a 68 speed, and you're like, I don't know who he is, but you used to could cheat code it and run around the game, right?
Yep.
But what are you gonna do when you go to because they're gonna put his number on there now, right? If they can
Yep,
do
that's
that,
it.
I don't know what they can do. So they'll put his number on there and they go, oh, so that's Arch Manning. Arch Manning has a 68 speed and a 79 pass accuracy. I mean, if anything, EA
Mhm.
is just going to dog him more because his ratings are going to be
Oh,
dog water because you didn't opt
oh
into the
yeah.
game. Anyways,
Especially
we can spend
now.
the whole
Especially now.
yeah. We
Especially
should
now.
have a show
Anything's
about
gonna sound
that. Like, who didn't
we
opt
could.
in and who cares? You know,
I could rattle
like
on about that for 30 minutes.
you bring David Letterman on this show. That'd be great. Nobody like David Letterman was always like, "Hey, I invited so and so to the show. We don't care." He didn't care if they answered or not. Nobody cares that Arch Manning. I don't know what he was going for with that. I mean, don't get me wrong. $600 in this NIL world right now. $600 is like you letting somebody borrow $6 to go up there and get a Slim Jim and a Gatorade.
Mm,
Um, it's $600, bro. Let's move
I
along.
know.
Bobby, talk to me about Tennessee, man. Moving quickly, lightning round here. Tennessee, what do they got to do to be successful next year?
Quarterback play.
Let's go.
Milton's on, and they've got their guy that the fans have been screaming for, the Nico kid.
I think he's gonna be better than
How well he
He
does.
better be right. He better be right. $1 million. He better be.
Right. So it really, to me, they're returning some pretty good guys on
yeah.
defense, and so Tennessee could get better. I felt like they took a step backwards last year, and that was all because of lack of QB play. And so if QB play is elite, then Tennessee could have a good season.
I agree. I'm gonna throw a curveball in this. There's kind of a tie for me. Secondary, Tennessee secondary, they can't stop a rushing wind flying through a door, bro. Like they look at the Kamal Hayden, Wesley Walker, Jalen McCullough, Gay, Judy Laley, Tamaria McDonald, all departed. They got nothing but freshmen and portal in that secondary. That's not good, man. That's not good. They lost some on defense. They lost. It's going to be a tie for me. I think Ioma Alava will be better than Joe Milton. I think he will
With
just
Joe, I
naturally be
think,
better. Joe Milton was not good last year. A lot of hype. Great arm. Was not good last year. I do think that's a really great take, but I do think even worse. When you guys get a chance, and listeners, if you get a chance, go look at what Tennessee lost in the secondary. If anybody needs a portal after the spring, it's them. They need a secondary portal pickup. Otherwise, there's going to be people throwing from 500 yards on them.
Defensive front, right, that are pretty legit, right?
Yes. Yes.
They've got the Pierce kid.
Yes.
Good. There's just one other kid that's pretty phenomenal. But so yeah, we'll see how they do. But yeah, secondary, yeah, you don't know what they're gonna do. But if you can get in on top of the quarterback, you can get by with a secondary that's not the best in the world. So
Yeah. I'm gonna sprint to the end here. We don't want to go too long tonight. Texas. Fish, what do you think Texas has got to do? You think they're loaded for a SEC run? You think that's the best or second best or third best team in the SEC?
Mm, I don't. We'll find out when we go to Austin, right? I mean,
Yeah,
we'll find out for sure. Quinn Ewers lost a few receivers. Xavier Worthy, A.D. Mitchell.
yeah.
They're all gone, and they're splashing the NFL. Xavier Worthy was fast. I didn't know he was that fast. Ran a 4.3 something, 4.2? No,
Yeah.
4.2 something, right? 4.29. That kid
Four
has some
one
wheels.
419, guys.
Oh,
419
4.19.
is what I saw. All right, you're wrong.
Let's
You
see.
keep talking. I'm gonna Google it just for content.
But anyway, yeah. I mean, he's just got to gel with those receivers, and we'll see what happens. The defense is going to be all right. Um, other than that, I don't know. They're pretty much going to be the same team they were last year. I think. I don't know. They lost that big defensive lineman, but they had a couple other ones too. They had one of the best defensive lines in the league last year,
yeah,
in my opinion.
Yeah, breaking official
So
time. I apologize. 4.21, which is still moving.
that's
4.21,
ridiculous. That's
bro.
fast. That's super fast.
Yeah, 4.21 is how long it takes me to pick up my water bottle. So he's moving, dude.
Yeah, he's trucking.
I think for Texas, is that defense SEC ready? They lost a ton. They lost a lot on the defensive line. Sweat was a huge 345-pound bust in the NFL. I'll rewind the show if he's not a bust. But they lost a lot on the defensive line. You can't hide defensive line exposure. Does not Georgia know that from last year? That's my big question for Texas. I think the offense will be fine. I think Bond will step right in and take over some of those duties. I think Quinn Ewers is going to be fine next year. Line looks good. Offense is going to be good. From a defensive standpoint, I'm curious if that defense is SEC ready. What do you think, Bobby?
It seems to be.
Yeah, man. Texas is just set up to be successful. Really, you need an environment where people absolutely love college football and deep pockets, and they have absolutely got both of those in this world of NIL money and transfer portal. They can always bring in whoever they want because they can offer whatever dollar sign they want to put in front of them, right? And they will. And so they're going to be very successful. They'll thrive. I think, when I look at them coming to the SEC, they're probably, if I had to pick teams from outside of the SEC that were coming into the SEC, they would be one that I said could step in and compete in the SEC right away.
Yeah. Yeah, I got them. They're over under 10.5. I think I take the over on that. I think the only game that's going to be very challenging for them will be Georgia. There, Richman got chiming in down here. Richman says he ran a 4.22. They gave him a 4.21 for ratings. NFL needs some good ratings, I guess. But I think Texas is the second best team in the SEC. In my opinion, Ole Miss is my third. About Texas A&M, I'll hop on Texas A&M real quick because I think Vanderbilt will be a consensus for us. But I mean, I think it's very obvious. I think can Mike Elko, can he turn the line of scrimmage into a strength? Also, obviously Walter Nolan dips out. Offensive line struggled last year. Defensive line is going to have some strengths, but they're going to struggle possibly this year. Do they go grab some help in the portal? How good of a spring? How do things look in Texas A&M? But I think Elko I think he's a great discipline guy. He's about the closest thing I've seen to that Kirby mindset. I think he asks a lot of his players. I think he runs a really great regime, a tight knit, practice habits. He's a very focused coach. I think we have to see. I think the defense will be fine, but I just think we have to see what from a talent standpoint that exit of the doors he's going to deal with this year. And we all know that he did a lot with a little at Duke, so I don't worry about that. So, I like the offense. You got Connor Wakeman coming back, and I like Connor Wakeman. Connor Wakeman's my 5th best quarterback in the SEC, by the way, and that's above Brady Cook. I'm just telling you, that's a take for next week. But Connor Wakeman is a really good, talented quarterback. I actually saw Jesse Palmer's. Was it Jesse Palmer? Actually, not. Who was the quarterback for? Who's always on SEC? SEC now with Jesse. Played at Vanderbilt. Everybody jokes because he was a coach at
it's
Vanderbilt.
Aaron Rodgers' little brother.
Yeah.
What's his name? Oh my God,
We'll
what's his first name?
Lil Rogers.
Lil Aaron.
Yeah, Lil Aaron. Anyways, his take on it was kind of the same. He didn't have Brady Cook in his top 5. That's another show. We can do that. I didn't mean to spark too much of a big interest, but I got Connor Wakeman in my top 5 quarterbacks. But I think the offense will be fine. I think it's, can they replace the defense? Can the line block for Wakeman? They have 13 returning starters on offense. That's crazy because you looked at everything they lost, But there's a lot of those players that got some playing time last year because they had a ton of injuries last year on the offensive side of the ball. And can Elko and the new staff, can they solidify both those areas? They aren't without talent. What do you guys think about Texas A&M before we close out with Vanderbilt? Fish.
I think the schedule sets up for them pretty well to have a good rebound year this year.
I agree with that.
Everything, if they can stay healthy, they can win some games. They can have definitely a way better season than they had last year for sure. Connor Wigman coming back is huge. If he can finally live up to his 5-star stats, then they'll definitely win some games.
I don't mean to backtrack, but I do want to hop back on the Texas and Oklahoma. Get out of jail free card happened. Texas, listen to their schedule next year as they enter the SEC. Colorado State, Michigan, the depleted Michigan, UTEP, Louisiana Monroe, Mississippi State, Oklahoma, Georgia, Vanderbilt, Florida, Arkansas, Kentucky, Texas A&M. What? I'll let that just sit there, marinate.
I'm telling you, they're easing them in, man. It's like getting into a hot tub. You just kind of go in nice and slow. They want to ease them in so they don't get scared and try to run to the Big Ten like everybody else.
Yeah, well, they farted in our hot tub, bro. When our schedule came out, excuse my language. I'll probably have to delete that from the recording.
It's a Caddyshack moment for sure happening. Everybody
Dude,
on
just
the
broke it up, man. Bobby, what do you think about Texas A&M, bro?
I want to hit on your comment about he did a lot with a little at Duke, right?
Yeah.
That's ACC. Right? It's a lot easier to do a lot with a little in the ACC. You don't fare well doing a lot with a little in the SEC. So I'm interested to see what's left in the cabinets. What can he cook? What can he cook? What's left in the cabinets? Right?
Yeah.
Speaking of Cook, you think Wegman's better than Cook? Really?
Yeah, I'm not on that take, bro.
What's Rogers' name, dude? I'm gonna Google this dude's name.
Justin Rogers. Jordan Rogers.
I'm Googling it. Keep going though. I'm gonna show you his top 5 quarterbacks. But go ahead.
Yeah, that dude, man, he has the weirdest takes, bro. Have you ever really paid?
He's like Joel Klatt, dude.
Yeah.
Dude,
that makes me laugh, dude. I follow him on X. He makes me laugh.
I'd rather I believe a take from that old lunatic legend on Paul Feinbaum before I believe one from Jordan Rogers.
Jalen Milroe than everybody else.
So here it is. Nope, that's 23. That's another show. I don't want to waste time. His top 5 was, if I remember correctly, it was Weigman at 5. I know he had Milroe at 3, Beck at 1, I think 2. No, he had Jackson Dart at 3. Milroe was at 2. And he's got an argument there because Milroe's undefeated in the SEC. Think about it. He's undefeated in the SEC, man. He lost to Texas when Texas was not in the SEC, and he lost to Michigan. He's undefeated in the SEC. So he's got an argument. But, I mean, Connor Wakeman, we can go back and look at that. Richman said Texas got 2 games, us and A&M. Yeah, man. Freaking flop. Freaking Flopville, man. It's like, I don't even understand.
Texas a better, just because of the rivalry. Oklahoma will give Texas a better game than A&M will.
Yeah, I mean, look at Texas A&M. I think did did you mention A&M schedule? Notre Dame, McNeese State, Florida,
Yeah.
Bowling Green, Arkansas, Missouri, Mississippi State, LSU, South Carolina, New Mexico State, Auburn, Texas. What?
Hey, by SEC standards, that is a walk in the park, bro.
I don't know, man.
Them,
I
though.
just I think somebody poisoned our hot tub, dude. I mean that our schedule. I'm fine.
We deserve everything we get this year after the schedule we had last year. Our schedule this year is payback for last year. Like, everybody can say what they want to say about last year. Time I heard something about our schedule, I just shook my head and said, "Man, they're obviously not looking ahead to next year."
I'll tell you
Because
one
our
thing though.
schedule
You
is
don't want to. You don't
hard
want
as
to. You don't
shit.
want to mess with us in the playoffs after our schedule, dude.
Nope,
You don't.
you don't. You don't.
Because
Especially if we
I
navigate
think
it with maybe like no or one loss or none at all. Come on, man.
yeah.
Nobody's gonna mess
You don't
with
want
us.
to see that. Before we get off tonight, let's all chime in really quick. So I'm gonna give you my take on Vanderbilt. Here's my 2-cent take. Take this to the house. You know what I'm talking about Vanderbilt's needs this year? They need to be good at something. They just need to find something they're good at. Whether it's offense, whether it's find a bright spot at running back, run the football, control the line of scrimmage, defense. Clark Lea is a defensive guy. I've yet to see the defense just be good. Like, I think for me, Vanderbilt just needs to try to be good at something, right? Fish, what do you think about
We need
Vanderbilt?
players.
And I'm talking about, I don't think they're going to, I mean, I have Vanderbilt's schedule up really quick. There is a possibility, guys. They're good at math. Rich Man said they're good at math.
Very good.
Let me
And
put this
baseball.
up, man. Look at this.
And
Virginia Tech, Alcorn State. Oh, we're gonna get to see him say Georgia State, dude. Can Georgia State be Vanderbilt, dude? Can Dale McGee get an SEC win, bro? Before Clark Lee gets an SEC win, that I'm watching that game, dude. You got
Me
you got
too.
Missouri, Alabama, Kentucky, Ball State, Texas, Auburn, South Carolina, LSU, Tennessee. Is there? I mean, Alcorn, Georgia State, Ball State. They may get 3. I don't know, man. Their stadium's not going to be done to 2025, dude. They can't even be good at their stadium. The
As
stadium
long
is
as they don't
still
have
under
swinging
construction.
I-beams over the scoreboard and in the background, like, I was worried about our player safety, man. Like, what? I mean, they just had, it was like a working construction zone. Like, I'm surprised, like, the players had on hard hats. I'm surprised the fans didn't have to wear hard hats, honestly.
It's
You just
bad,
got to
man.
recruit there, man. If you can get some dudes in there, I mean, I don't know how you might be able to run the best system in the world, but if you got like the Bad News Bears playing for you, you know, it's not going to translate to anything. You got to get some guys in there. And he finally went to the portal this year because he didn't last year, but this year he brought in a couple of quarterbacks to try to compete for that job because that's going to
Yeah,
be
from
big. And they lost
New Mexico
their best
State.
wide receivers.
Who's
Like,
remembering
everybody,
what the
they
quarterback
come
from New
in.
Mexico State did last year? Is his name Pacquiao or
Didn't they
that's a
beat
boxer?
Auburn?
No,
New Mexico
Vandy?
State sure did.
Oh, New Mexico State did. Yeah.
No, yeah, it's the
Yeah,
former head
you're right.
coach
You're
of New
right.
Mexico
You're right.
State, Jerry Kill. Yeah, as a senior offensive analyst, they brought him in this year, and a new offensive coordinator. So
The
we'll see
Vanderbilt
what
has
happens.
finished without an SEC win in 2 out of the 3 seasons of Clark Lea's tenure. After a
I like
2-10 overall mark, 0-8 record in the conference play last year, the pressure's been, I mean, the storyline is just.
he's a passionate dude, man. Like, all I care about with Vanderbilt every year is I want to see him beat Florida, just so I can
Yeah.
brag on
I
Florida.
love that. Oh, I love that. That's great.
Unreal, man.
I love watching
Unreal.
Florida. That's awesome.
If they beat Florida, that's a successful season for them, in my
Man,
opinion.
that's like their national championship every year, right? Beating Florida.
Yeah.
That's what they
Either
make a
that
little
or,
trophy. They all get rings,
well, guys, I'm going to tell you, there will be one win for Vanderbilt next year, and that will be at their spring game. Gold or
Are we
black.
even talking about Vandy?
One of those teams will win. Guys, we're at about an hour and a half. I personally think these are great takes. I think these are huge. I think these are things that have to happen very quickly at these schools. Yeah, dude, while we even talking about Vandy, because we got to, man. We're previewing all 16 teams. I mean, honestly, I think we might get a win at Vandy somehow. Maybe that's it. let me watch a practice. Maybe just some kid needs to just get jacked up about something. I don't know, man. James Franklin did the most at Vandy with, uh, you know, little to no talent, and I don't know if it's coaching. I don't know if it's play calling. I mean, all of his quarterbacks hit the door.
Yeah,
Swan hit the door.
they have a successful year at Vandy. They do well, and then they go somewhere else.
Yeah, well, that's what
That's
that's what every other school that's not, in the top 50 of college football is doing in Division II.
Yeah.
You can't have a good player. I mean, look at James Madison's year last year before they broke into the scene, and the quarterback, first thing they do after they build a great intro into Division I college football is the quarterback leaves. So it's like, all right.
Still has very, very difficult entrance standards.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
They really ought to be playing like Ivy League. Yeah.
Right.
It's a top-notch school, like education-wise.
I would miss Vandy if they weren't in the SEC.
That limits their ability to find, bring in some athletes.
No.
Yeah. And this, they had a chance when it was East and West. Somebody asked me the other day, they're like, how many games is Vandy going to win in the East this year? And I said 0.
Yeah.
They said, well, what are you talking about? I said, because they're not in the East this year, man.
Right.
They're not. Nobody. There's no East and West, bro. They're going to win 0 games in the East.
A lot of the comments on some of the things I see on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, like some people are still oblivious to the fact that we're not doing conferences or divisions this year.
It's a smart move by Sankey, man. Got a chance to get way more teams into the playoff. Very smart move, and teams that care. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's important to win the SEC. It's Kirby's number one goal, SEC first, because he believes if you win the SEC, then you have a shot at winning the national championship. But you have to look at the long run this time around. Now this 12 team is becoming to look more like March Madness, where you can get some teams in there that if they're peaking at the right time, and maybe they're not a part of their championship game, if they're peaking at the right time, you get them on a high, and depending on where you get to play them at, I've seen some college football teams that are just better on the road than they are at home. I know that's hard to believe, but your underdog teams, that's where they thrive, man. They thrive at being the underdog. And so you finally get a chance to see that this coming up year. I am super excited about this playoff. I mean, the fact that they're already talking about messing with it just blows my mind, man, because it's like we haven't even seen what it's going to look like. Yeah, we haven't even seen what it's going to look like.
Nobody has any idea. But see, that's what I mean. Like, everybody wants change. Everything is constantly evolving. Nothing stays the same for long anymore.
Nothing's ever good enough, man.
No, it's not. And that's why we're having a lot of problems, because we just kind of jumped into the NIL and the transfer portal and everything without setting up regulations, rules, guidelines, whatever you want to call it. So it was just kind of like a free for all. So it almost seems like the NCAA was making up rules.
Yeah.
It's just, and that's why they're having all this, hoopla about it. The NCAA had to withdraw their charges, I think, for against Tennessee and whoever. I saw that. I think they took a step back.
They won't be 5-10 years.
Yeah, no,
I don't think so either, and they know that too.
Yeah, Richmond asked, did they drop the SEC championship game yet? I think it's coming. I think these conference championships are coming. They're gonna. That might be 2025, 2026. It's right around the corner. And not because it's another play on money, man. It's another play on trying to get as many teams in as possible. If there's still a committee and there's still a committee picking teams, it's much better if, here's my thing, if let's say this year, just so happens that Texas and Georgia play each other in the regular season, but let's say Texas is sitting there undefeated and Georgia's sitting there undefeated. There's no conference championship. And then Ole Miss is sitting there with one loss. It looks much better for Ole Miss to get in if they're undefeated, and look, they're going to always say, well, they're behind the top 2 teams in the country, so they're going to get in as a top seed. And I do think that when that happens, you're going to see a similar form to what basketball sees. You're going to have like your top 4 seeds, 1, 2, 3, 4. They're going to become buys, and I think from there, what used to be conference champions will be how they divvy out who plays those. And so those now 4 playoff teams will become teams that are ranked the top 4. So there'll still be some form of that 14 playoff still existing, because there'll be a lot that's worth those first 4 spots. You get a bye, you get home field advantage. So you sit one, you get home field advantage, and then you play in a major bowl game. So, I mean, talk about being rested. You're coming off a season and you're minus a championship game, where if you look at Georgia, that's where if Georgia would have went and played in the playoffs last year, we probably would have been down a couple of players even after that game, because Mims was not going to make another game after that. I mean, you could tell he was nursing the injury he had, and this question, was Ladd still healthy? Was Brock still healthy? There's still a lot of questions in that, So I think you, to answer your question, Rich, man, I do think you see that game go away, if not next year, definitely by 2027. But anyways, guys, it's always fun hanging out. I think these are great takes. I'm looking forward to Monday next week. Is gonna have. Hey man, we get some organic content. We don't have to make stuff. I mean, not make stuff up, but we don't have to find stuff to talk about next week, man. It's gonna be fun. Next week we're gonna dive right into. We get a chance to see some people. I'll have some pictures. We'll flash some things up here about what's going on, what we're seeing, what some of the hot takes coming out of spring. Who looks incredible in pads? Like, I just want to see some football pads on some players. But real quick, 30 seconds, Bobby. Final take tonight.
Just excited, man. Ready. It's the springtime is when you start to see everything unfold, and then we'll get a little period where we got to wait again. At least we got football for about a week or so.
Yeah, I agree. Fish, final thoughts?
Arch Manning's a clown. I'm ready for spring, man. I'm ready for spring. Can't wait. Pollen on the truck means spring football is right around the corner.
Just so you guys know, excited. I opted out. When they wanted like old timers, like I opted out too. So they were looking for like 84 like old time players. I opted out as well. My overall rating was a 67.
You don't need $600, man, and a copy of the game. I mean, what? Come on.
I had to follow Arch, man. I had to follow him, man. He is a leader.
Lord have mercy.
I am a follower. Boys, always fun. On behalf of myself, Ted Turner, Bobby Ryals, Adam Fisher, Fish. So long, everybody, and go Dogs.
Go Dogs.
As always, go Dogs.